First of all, to the co-creator and executive producer, Howard J. Morris. And also the co-creator of the show and executive producer and sometimes director, including the episode you just saw, Marta Kauffman. And please welcome the cast. First off, he plays Robert Martin Sheen. And as Saul, Sam Waterston. And here comes Grace Jane Fonda. And Frankie Lily Tomlin. Have a seat. Wow, they like you. They really do. This is great. The show has completed its 4th season on the air, and I think you've been shooting the 5th season. Is that right now?
We're almost done.
Almost done? We have to wait a while for that to come on. I know that's the sad thing. You get to see them all at once, and then you wait a year. But this show...
We get to keep seeing them.
Yeah, exactly. I got to come over to the set actually a few weeks ago, and I talked to Marta for our deadline show, and what a spectacular set too, Marta. That was based on your own house in Malibu, right? This set?
Yeah, the beach house is based on my house in Malibu, although the beach house on set is 15% bigger than my house. So I walk into my house and I go, what is wrong? This doesn't feel right. Yeah, it's based on my house.
This show just keeps gaining in relevance, I think, as it goes along each year, you know, and with different things that you're tackling on the show. I mean, there seems to be nothing off limits for this. You know, how long do you want to see this going, Marta? Let me ask you and Howard, you know, when you created this, did you think it would be going like as long as it has, and how long do you see it going here?
I'm a big fan of the show, so I want it to go on forever. You know, I think anytime you have a show that connects with people and runs for a fair amount of time, you're always shocked and always thrilled.
You know, I don't know that when we started we had a sense of how long we wanted to go. I think one of the surprises for us is that the show appealed to people beyond the demographic that we originally expected. So I think that has given us a lot of faith that we'll be able to go as long as we want to.
Yeah, I think this show, if you look at it on the surface of how it was created, you think, oh, it's about older people, but actually it's about a family coming together in different ways, and totally, no matter what the age, it's about starting over and doing what you think you can do. Jane, was that an appeal for you in taking on this show? You know, that this is a show that's showing that no matter what age you are, you can live, as they say.
Yeah, very, very much so. In my 40s, one of my dreams was to give a cultural face to older women. And so this is literally a dream come true for me.
Yeah, and it really has, and of course, and you and Lily working together again, obviously you knew each other for years even before you did 9 to 5, I think, right?
Absolutely right. We knew each other for 30 or some years, 40 years maybe. Maybe we met when you had that dream of giving a face to older women. So yeah, we knew each other, and I knew her even before that because I rocked a clute hairdo for 2 or 3 years.
You did, right? That was very influential there, right?
To me it was, definitely.
Yeah, what is it about Grace and Frankie playing these characters? And you know, it says a lot about female friendship, about things that you go through. Talk about the chemistry that you obviously have on screen all these years later, too.
I think I understand her.
You know, while Marta and Howard were talking, and I was trying to imagine that it would end, and it made me, it makes me really sad because, you know, we're almost through with the 5th season, and we're kind of sad that it's going to end. And I mean, we see each other anyway, but it's like coming home, going to the studio every day, and being able to work with her. I can't imagine not doing it. I can't imagine not having that in my life. And I'm new to episodic television. I mean, I'm 5 years into it now. And it's so exciting to do it because you keep learning and finding out more. And, you know, I'm finding out more how much Grace has changed and become better because she has Frankie in her life. And then, you know, I'm not being coy or anything, but I feel like as Jane, having her in this one, Lily, in my life, and being able to be with her every day has made me better as a person and an actor.
Pete, if I could also, just for a moment, address the relationship between Jane and Lily. I'm not inside it, certainly, but first of all, they give each other so much shit. They really do. Yeah, you do. But it's always out of a place of love and admiration and joy. One of the first meetings we had with Jane and Lily, I don't know if you two will remember this, and please don't hate me for telling this story.
Was it at Marta's house?
I was at my house. This was literally one of our first meetings. And we were talking about Cialis. And Jane brought up several other options besides Cialis to help with that particular problem. And Lily turned to Jane, after Jane regaling us with, I think, 4 different options. Lily turned to Jane and said, "You have got to get younger boyfriends." And Howard and I turned to each other and said, "That's our show."
Clearly, too, and just to take a little detour here, I heard that, you know, maybe there'll be a...
deserves them. Look at it.
All right, now, Martin Sheen, Sam Waterston. I love the way your relationship has developed on this show, too. You know, it's so great. And I also think there is a Broadway musical in your future, Martin Sheen.
That's for sure.
I mean, you did The Music Man, you did 1776. Marta won't tell me what you're doing this year, but...
I don't blame her.
So talk about this when you signed on for this show. It's comedy. You both came off long runs in dramatic series and all kinds of things, and taking on this kind of role.
What a relief.
Ditto.
What a relief. I mean, what you were talking about this show sort of improving you and improving what it feels like to be alive. You know, 16 years of putting people in prison for doing unspeakable things. You know, you need a little comic relief. And the other wonderful thing about this show is that it talks about, it normalizes difference by making a lot of fun out of it. And so it's just a very cool thing to be involved with.
There's one other thing. I also, Sam loves doing comedy, and it is such a kick to watch him be so happy to make people laugh. It's really, you know, I actually said that to him, I think, during the second year.
Well, I started out in comedy, and then I thought, oh, I'm going to be a light comedian for the rest of my life. I must get people to take me seriously. And then that worked. But Martin is saving me.
Yeah. What about you, Martin? First of all, I would like President Josiah Bartlett to run for president.
Yes.
He is. He's
Like
running
a lot
for
of
president.
people currently in office, I'm not qualified. I second all that has been shared here about our love of doing the show and working together. And I think the fundamental thing that unites us is that it is an embrace and a celebration of all our human frailties, our beautiful, broken human nature, which is what I think people really respond to. And even when we think we've got it in hand, we know it's going to slip out. And that's that makes it so human and so much fun. I just am having the time of my life. And I'm grateful to this bunch, particularly Marta for encouraging me to do the show. I'd never done a comedy before, and not sure I'll do one again, but nevertheless, it's been the time
Just so you
of
know,
my
the
life.
first table read was a great relief.
But
I hope it was a comedy relief. But I'm having the time of my life. And they're talking about how long the show will run. I think I hope it keeps going as long as we're all alive.
Yeah, let's stay healthy.
Yeah.
We have to pledge to stay healthy.
This show also balances comedy and drama, like drop it on a dime, which is not easy to do, carry off that tone. And he's pointing to the creators here, for that. But that is not easy to do until particularly in a half-hour format, I would think, Marta.
It's not easy, but I have to say it's really fun to do. It's really fun to do. It's so, look, every dark moment has comedy to it. And our whole thing was we wanted to create a show that was at its core real. And then funny comes kind of naturally. I can think of the darkest moments of my life. What I remember about them is the laugh we had after. Yes, it's not easy, and I think it took us a little while to find that precise line. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Definitely the tone was absolutely the most difficult thing. But once we sort of realized you don't have to sacrifice, you can be really dramatic and really comedic. You don't have to sacrifice one for the other as long as you sort of walk the line of like, is this relatable? Can this really happen? Is this something people are feeling? Once you have that, that gives you the freedom to go anywhere.
It helps to have these two Maseratis who can turn on a dime.
It's everybody always certainly knows Lily started in comedy and did all this great comedy all the way back to Laughing and everything. And I don't think people should be surprised if you look at Jane Fonda's film work. At the very beginning of her career, you were doing comedy. When you came back a couple of times after some breaks, you did Fun with Dick and Jane. Then you did Monster-in-Law. Right now, you've got Book Club out there, which has. I just looked at the box office chart this morning on Deadline, and it's Avengers: Infinity War, Deadpool.
We're ahead of Avengers.
Yes, Star Wars. The only movie in the top 5 that's not one of those kind of things is Book Club, and this is a movie about, let's say, 4 women over the age of 70 finding, sex, life, everything, going against kind of some similar issues here, and there's an audience for this.
Right, there is, and what Marta said is we've all discovered to our astonishment that college kids love this show. Grandchildren like to watch it. I'm talking now about Grace and Frankie, like to watch it with their grandparents who cover their eyes during the vibration masturbation parts. We just feel so lucky to have a show, thank you, that crosses age and gender.
issues here. You know, you're not afraid to tackle anything: vibrators, lube, drugs, on and on. I mean, there's nothing. It seems. I mean, you mentioned when we did that interview the other day, dry vaginas. I was
I'm very proud of that one.
Yeah, right. That's a highlight in the. What other issues would you like?
Well, we haven't done one about Cialis, and you know, we could do that too.
We did a little thing in the pilot about Cialis.
We did.
Yeah.
Well, you can bring it back.
Totally.
You know, we also at one point tackled guns.
Yeah.
You know, Grace and Frankie being on polar opposite sides of the gun issue. You know, the important thing is not to try to educate an audience or impart our political views. The important thing is the people. And to, especially when we have these four, that each character, you can understand their perspective. And that's the joy of tackling some of these issues, is that you don't have to, as much as, you know, we are who we are, and some of it is going to be from our political perspective, it's still about these four characters and who they are and remaining true to who they are.
How did this show actually come about? Because I heard that you heard something about Jane and Lily wanting to do television.
So this was crazy. I had lunch with a woman named Marcy Ross, who is the president of TV at Skydance, with whom there are partners on this. And she mentioned to me at this lunch that Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin want to come back and do TV. I thought she meant together. So I called my agent and I said, is it true that Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin want to do a TV show? My agent said, I'll call you back, let me find out. She calls me back 20 minutes later and she says, they do now.
20 minutes?
Took 20 minutes, fastest call I ever got from an agent. So that was the very beginning. And then once we knew that Jane and Lily wanted to do something, we created the show for them. For them. We had several ideas, and honestly, it was my daughter who works on the show. She's a producer on the show. We were sitting in the car one day, driving back from Malibu, talking about ideas. And one of the ideas we had was a little too close to transparent, so we didn't do that one. But the other idea was Hannah's idea about two women who didn't like each other, whose husbands fall in love and get married.
Good for her.
Yeah, right?
She created the show.
Hey, can
In many ways.
Yes. I
That's a true story.
also got the best call of my life when Marta, we worked together before many times, and she called me and she said two things. She said, how would you like to do a show with Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin? And I was like, oh, let me think about it. That was yes before she even finished saying what it was. And then she said to me, I've always wanted to do a show about older women and sexuality, so I thought of you. And I was 49 at the time, and I thought, oh, all right, that makes sense.
This is great. This has had a lot of great guest stars coming into this show too. I particularly remember the arc with Sam Elliott coming in. That was great. He's a terrific actor, and Lisa Kudrow this season was wonderful addition. You can plug Lisa Kudrow. Who would you like? You know, the elephant in the room is that Dolly Parton hadn't been on yet. But, you know, people are probably wondering, is she going to pop up at some point? But who would you like to see come into the show, you guys? Lily?
Well, we'd like to see Dolly, and we keep hoping that we'll work out a schedule. You know, she's so busy. She does so many things, and now she has a big show deal herself at Netflix. So I don't know.
Does?
Yeah.
Everybody's got to, I mean,
Well, I mean, it's a show. It's with Sam Haskell, her partner, that they're going to do a series about Dolly's songs, like she did Coat of Many Colors and all that stuff.
She's not going to be in it, or it's just...
No, I think she'll be in it when it calls for her.
So you just delivered a scoop here. We didn't know.
I guess I did. Golly. I should get a journalist's license.
I don't know whether they'd let you have one.
These days, absolutely.
probably be assigned to the White House. There's just a load of people we could have. We'd love to have any number of them. You name one.
Who are you?
You. And then Sam, you name one. And then Martin, you name one. Right, now, you name one.
We love this. And everybody will name one.
The only people I know in show business are right up here on the stage.
You actually worked with Jane on the newsroom, right, Sam? Yeah.
I worked with Martin on
West Wing. Yeah, so you had
Yeah, but we're talking about us.
But actually, she was your boss on Newsroom, right?
Yeah.
You're damn right.
Yeah.
And I was Lily's boss.
What did he say?
He was your boss on the.
Well, I was kind of his boss.
Yeah. Well, he says, yeah. Well, okay. Well, we'll argue this.
Not the way it
backstage.
started.
Well, someone had to keep him in line.
There's a great. I just saw, by the way, a promo that the West Wing cast did to get out and vote and register to vote and everything. You got everybody back together, and that's on the internet. People should look at
That's
that.
great.
They reunited
Yes,
the West
yes.
Wing cast, and that's cool.
How does Martin Sheen look?
He looks great. Are you kidding? Martin Sheen is ageless here. You're all ageless. This is an amazing kind of message show, I think.
Howard and I are not ageless.
That's an outright lie.
No, it is. But
We have a brilliant cinematographer, Gail Tattersall. Oh my God, he is so good.
And some very good makeup people.
It takes a village. It doesn't just happen.
And we've got all of them backstage right now.
Are you guys getting all this down?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Can I just interject something that these kinds of things can be brutal, honestly. This is a huge pleasure, and the reason it's a huge pleasure, first of all, it's because of you. Thank you very much for being interested in watching and all of that stuff. Keep it up, and by the way, also vote.
In the midterms.
Yeah. But the really cool thing about today, which I didn't know to expect, is that this has given us an opportunity to sit here and contemplate how lucky we are to be working together on this thing.
Here, here.
And so thank you very much. Thank you.
it's that, I'm wondering, Marta, did you always think of this as Netflix? Because Netflix is obviously a real game changer in the television business, as it is in the movie business, it seems, right now, too. But were you always, or did you try to take this to the broadcast networks and do this?
We took this everywhere. You never know when you create a show who's going to be interested, who's going to support it, who's going to be willing to do the show that you're imagining, who's willing to stick with your vision. And this was in I think when we made this deal, this was before, I think BoJack was on. I'm not sure how many other comedy series were on.
We were the first.
We were the first
comedy,
live
original
action.
Netflix comedy.
So,
Yeah.
so there were many appealing things about Netflix. One of them is that if they like your first episode, you go straight to 13. You don't have to struggle and make a pilot and try to impress a bunch of people and advertisers and all of that.
And then
Two,
wait.
they get things done. You go to a place like HBO and you can be in development hell for years. So they get things done. And three, they're super smart. Their notes are incredible, and what's amazing about Netflix, as opposed to any other network I've worked with, is that their notes keep you true to your vision. They don't try to impose a vision on you. They're just saying, this is the show you wanted to do. This is where you're falling short. So that is greatly appreciated by the writers and by us.
Are there any episodes that came along where any of you guys, the actors, said, no, I don't want to do that, or, you know, let me. Oh wait, I think I just stumbled onto something here. Martin Sheen's going like this. So is there something?
No, there's just one, and it was something deeply personal, and I'm going to keep you guessing. But it worked out, I think, for everyone's benefit, better.
Do you guys have input into the scripts and all of
You know,
that?
here's the thing about
Thank God.
about working with actors as opposed to puppets.
Let's talk about the
Have you worked with puppets?
Actually, yeah. The thing is, when you write something, no matter how you imagine it in your head, if the actor isn't comfortable doing it, you can't do it. Because it's not going to feel honest, it's not going to feel real, it's not going to feel truthful, it's not going to feel good. So you have to listen to your actors, not only in terms of storylines that are uncomfortable or feel untrue to their characters from an actor's perspective, but also just everything down to a simple line that we may have thought was hilarious, but if the actor doesn't think it's funny, there's no point doing it.
I'm really glad you said all that, and I just have a couple of notes.
And I wanted to put in for those lines that they cast off.
The 2 episodes, I believe you saw the first episode of the 4th season and the final episode, right, today here? And both of those were interesting. And then the 2nd episode of this season, too, where you two had such really touching scenes where you said, I want to come back, I miss you, you know, I miss that kind of thing. And that was real kind of pathos, I thought, brought into the show there.
Is this in season 5?
Season 4.
Oh, season 4. Seems like such a distant memory. But I can remember that I did do that. But I don't remember who I did it with.
Okay, this is leading. I have a couple of minutes left, but this is leading me up to trying to figure out what's going to happen in season 5, which nobody will tell me. But at the end here, you go to they try to send you off to a home, essentially, or a retirement community, and that sort of thing. Which
4.
yeah, in 4,
Yeah.
That's how it ends. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So what happens after?
And we broke out.
Yes.
Well, that's that's still part of the.
It's so easy to get into trouble because you talk about the current season when you should be talking about the past season.
Yeah, or any season.
Almost
Here.
spilled the beans.
Do you guys have a favorite episode that you've done here? One that just really stood out? I remember talking to you, Jane, a couple of years ago, and you were just so excited you had shot an episode, and you said, "Oh my God, it's just incredible." You were talking about the writing and everything, but and so excited about shooting it. But does something stand out for you and Lily of what you've done?
I always love the scenes where, I don't know, where I get to appreciate Frankie. And, it's so rare that you see women loving each other and not competing with each other but being really friends and being able to appreciate everything about each other. And it's fun because you know how there's that actors have, well, maybe it's just me, I don't know, but I think we're all, I don't know how many out there are actors, but you know how you're doing it, and you one part of your brain is the actor, and then the other part is looking at yourself, kind of, or maybe I'm not very good, and that's what happens to me, and doesn't happen to you. But very often I'll be acting with Frankie, and I'll know, Lily has very beautiful skin, and so I can't help but comment on it, and when I do, I'm thinking, God, look at that skin that she has. And the other part of me, isn't it great that I'm in a scene where I can tell her how beautiful this thing is about her? Because we don't see that enough. I'm talking too much. Does this make sense?
It makes perfect sense.
Okay.
And I was just going to ask Sam if he and Martin have that same kind of thing.
Martin has absolutely beautiful skin.
He does, actually.
And it's a delight to be able to say so. And not be condemned.
Have you tongued each other yet?
Now that's just a bridge too far.
My son was in a TV show called Soldier's Girl with Lee Pace, and he had to put his tongue down Lee Pace's throat. And I'm probably the only mother in the world that had their son call them and say, "Mom, I got to put my tongue down his throat. Is that going to hurt my career?"
But I think my question would have been, who's going to know if you do or you don't?
Well, but
Except Lee.
you do it so it shows.
Don't anybody get any ideas?
They've got a recorder running, I'm sure. Yeah. You just did season 6 here in this little session right here. You got a lot
This
of.
is why I have to say
About
this
Sam.
this is what is so much fun about what we do. We have a really happy set, and we have such a good time together.
Well, I have to say that I'm slightly offended by the exchange that went on here.
Okay. Want to elaborate on that?
I personally am not a practitioner of sticking my tongue down anyone's throat. But I raise objections to them talking about sticking their tongues down one another's throat, identifying the receiver and the deliverer.
I have nothing to say. Except thank you guys so much for coming out here.
Thank you.